Welcome to Extra Takes, hosted by Northland Church Senior Pastor Dr. Joshua Laxton. Join us each week as Pastor Josh reveals the rest of the story behind his sermons. We'll discuss how those who follow Christ can live out a biblical vision for the church in our world today.
Well, hello, Northland family and friends. Hey, welcome to another episode of Extra Takes. I am your long-lost co-host. Matt found me on the side of the street and said, "We've been missing you. Would you like to come back and do Extra Takes?" And so I said, "Sure, why not?" No, but this is my first Extra Takes of 2026.
Wow. I said, "We miss you. Come back."
So I know it really has felt like forever, but it's been good. It's been good to kind of take the time off, let my whole body recover from a really intense season.
Well, I'm proud of you for taking that time off. We're excited for you to be back, and we're excited for a good year. And we're going to spend today just kind of catching up a bit. There's a couple topics. We'll see where the conversation takes us, but I want to touch on Christmas Eve a bit. We just want to touch on your dad and your vulnerability over those weeks, and then his passing and memorial. Anything you want to share there? You did the Dopey Challenge, which is named after the character and not after the people that run it, right?
Yeah,
apparently.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we want to look forward to Breakthrough, which is the series coming this weekend, which I think just naturally the way you design it launches us into this next year. So how's that sound?
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
All right. So first off, before we get into any of the specifics, just kind of big picture, how are you physically, emotionally, spiritually?
I mean, I'm hanging in there. Like I wouldn't say 100%, but wouldn't say 0%, and I'd probably say 50%. It's one of those things that in endurance, running, racing, which I don't know if I would say racing. It's like I'm not racing anybody. I'm basically racing myself.
Yeah.
But you just kind of get into it and you kind of feel your way into it. If you listen to your body, and that's kind of what I feel like I'm doing, is letting the Lord kind of speak into, hey, here's where my body is, here's where I am mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Right now everything's a little bit raw because we had Dad's celebration of life this past weekend, and things are just. I mean, and I know that this is probably going to happen. There will be always an ebb and flow, but things just seem to be really raw right now. But not in a debilitating way. Like early on, I mean, I'm like, I didn't want to do anything. Now I want to do stuff, but it's, just kind of reentry is kind of, in some sense, a day by day deal, like in terms of what you really feel like, and so that's why I'm grateful for grace and grateful for a loving church, and a church that really honors well and allows me to kind of not necessarily like feel my way back, but just let the Lord kind of be the guide, and but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And I so appreciate and respect the way you lead from a posture of vulnerability. That's not anything new. You have shared that with us for years, and you talk about in just different ways, both from the platform, but also in our staff, and obviously that it's the way that you've chosen to do that as well. So with your father, you mentioned his health in several services in December, just as the Spirit led you, and in that you opened it up for us as a church family to be praying for you and caring for you in various ways. So just so appreciate that, and then even your willingness to just obviously say, hey, I'm not okay, and I'm not 100%. And obviously that's understandable. But I'll speak for everyone listening. We just appreciate the authenticity because it's something amazing to be modeled, and it's a leader that we want to follow. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
Yeah. So can you think back all the way to last year to Christmas Eve services? Do you remember that far ago?
Well, yeah, vaguely. No, I remember. I mean, it was, it was a really intense season. I mean,
Right.
know,
Because the services were in the middle of all that.
well, yeah, the service was in the middle of all of that. Like,
Yeah.
when Dad really did take a big, huge turn. I mean, I'll always remember I had 2 hours of sleep for that Christmas Eve day where we had three services. I mean, yeah, so I do remember, and I actually gave a very quick overview of the message at Dad's celebration of life, because that was actually the last sermon he listened to. Now Joni did say he dozed on and off, throughout, and I knew something was wrong with him when he told Joni, "Why is he preaching the same sermon?" At least he was listening. He was listening.
Yeah.
But yes, so I do remember the message.
And really the idea and the hook was talking about, this whole month, the whole series, leading up to Christmas Eve was about a journey to Bethlehem. And you talked about, why people make a journey, but then really you dissected and broke down why people don't make the journey, and then three groups of people that who do not and did not make the journey. So it's really interesting the way that you looked at it from a perspective, a message that passage that we read every single year, if not multiple times a year. And it's a question that we may have not never considered. Who didn't make the journey? Just fascinating. So you said the main point, you will not make the journey to Bethlehem if you feel you have no need for Jesus. It was really strong, especially to an audience that maybe one of the only sermons they hear all year.
Yeah, and that was intentional. That was intentional.
But that's bold.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to come back, then listen, I'll be held accountable for what I said, and they'll be obviously held accountable for what they did.
Mm.
So I did right. Hopefully, they responded right.
Man, that's profound. So three groups who did not make the journey. The ignorant didn't make the journey. So this is the rest of the world because no one told them. The indifferent didn't make the journey. These are the religious leaders. And then the indignant didn't make the journey. That's King Herod. Now you did add a fourth.
I added the fourth in the celebration of
Yeah.
life, trying to culminate, Mary, Joseph, the
Yeah.
shepherds, and the wise men, like the intensely intrigued,
Thank you.
but yeah, but you could have, I mean, those interested, those, I mean, I didn't really think very deeply about the I, I was trying to stay with
Sure.
the I, but it's those who had faith, those who were interested,
Yeah.
intensely interested, because they were willing to make the journey and be
Mm.
changed, in the process. So, but yeah, I mean, unless you're interested, you don't make that journey.
Mm. Yeah. As you reflect on, the Christmas Eve services, it's probably hard to separate those services from everything else that was going on. But what do you want to remember about, that time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest, yeah, I think the biggest takeaway, at least that would be relevant to our context. I'm not talking about the world. I mean, I guess you could even say the ignorant. There are people who don't know, and so we are called to go and tell. I mean,
Yep.
that responsibility is on us and not them. I mean, they didn't know, therefore they're ignorant.
Right.
And he and she who has been given much, is responsible for much. So if we've been given the gospel, we've been given everything, and so therefore we owe Jesus everything. So
Mm.
so we ought to go help the ignorant, which is why we do missions.
Mhm.
It's kind of what John Piper said in his book, Let the Nations Be Glad. We do missions because the world does not do worship. And meaning that they do not worship King Jesus. And so therefore we've got to go educate them of why they should.
Yep.
That's proclaiming the gospel. It's educating,
Mm.
them, declaring the good news. So, but really for our context, when you look at the indifferent and the indignant, I mean, that's our context. I mean, there are a lot of people who are religious. I mean, there are a lot of people, for Christmas, they're Catholic, or they grew up Lutheran, or maybe they're Methodist, and every Christmas they go into. Listen, but that doesn't save you. That doesn't change you. That doesn't transform you. That's not really faith. I mean, you attending the service isn't faith necessarily. It's you doing a religious deal. And so, but where does your true faith lie? Now, on the religious, side of those Jews, I mean, their faith lied or laid in themselves and what they did and what they memorized, what they gave, the prayers that they said. I mean, so their faith was actually self-centered in the sense of reliant on what they did in order
Mm.
to appease God and thus be saved. And so therefore they were indifferent to this new thing. I mean, even Isaiah talks about God's getting ready to do a new thing.
Mm.
And so and then that's one of the things that I talked about with Rodney Stark, and I've said that before. And again, here's my thing: is those elements that are really, really important. Like if you are attached to a religion, it's hard for you to give up that religion to go to another.
Yeah.
So conversion is a big deal when you are having to relinquish an actual religion. That's actually what I think is happening today, and I can't remember if I said it or not. I mean, it was almost a month ago, but I do think that postmodernism, this relying on self, this basically faith in yourself. I know my truth. I want to do what I want to do when
Mm.
I want to do it. I do think that the younger generation is seeing that faith is very thin. It's a very weak faith. It really doesn't do anything, and it doesn't really make them feel any better. It actually makes them feel
Mm.
worse. And so
Yep.
therefore they are becoming disengaged with that faith. And so therefore when you become disengaged with the faith, you actually free yourself up to latch onto another one, which is one of the major reasons why the Gentiles in the first century gravitated towards Christianity, because they had a weak, loose faith. I mean, you remember they had a pantheon of gods that at
Mm.
least their background, their culture taught them. And so, yes, did they sacrifice to Zeus and Apollo? And all, like they did, but their faith wasn't so entrenched and engaged. You have to remember, like, their understanding of the gods that were so their understanding was that the gods were like they're not personal, they're not involved in
Mm.
your daily life. You just need to appease them, and ever so often, if you're going through something where Zeus can help you sacrifice. I mean, so it really wasn't that they were so entrenched and devout or devoted to so therefore Christianity comes on the scene, tells them of a God who's come here in the flesh, that is involved, that is engaged, that died, was buried, rose again, and that he has a vision for your life. He actually has a vision for the world. He's actually renewing and remaking the world. Like, okay, that's something like, well, I'm not really engaged here. This thing makes sense. And so,
Mm.
so all of that said,
Mm.
it was really easy for first century Gentiles to let go and embrace Jesus, where for obviously what we see with the indifferent religious Jews, it was really hard for them to let go and let God in a new, kind of
Mm.
a new thing, a new space. And we even see that throughout Jesus's ministry. So all of that said, like, the indifferent would definitely speak today,
Mm.
especially if people are really committed to somebody or someone or something else. which
Yeah.
some people are.
Yeah.
But then the indignant really probably is a good, relevant point of our society, which is why I wanted to have a little fun with the fact that we live like kings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and when
Well,
and then when you live like a king, and Jesus comes in and threatens your kingdom, and he threatens you in losing everything, then you really are faced with that decision. Do I lose everything to gain everything,
mm,
or do I keep everything to lose everything?
mm,
And that's what actually Jesus did talk about. It's
mm.
that what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and yet loses his soul?
Amazing. So that was Christmas Eve. So after Christmas Eve, we had planned on a fully online service, and you gave a message about being about the Father's business. And then after that, the next weekend, the weekend that I was preaching, you were there and you were in the hub after every service as we invited the congregation as your dad had passed away to just come and offer their sympathies and condolences. So um, how was that? How was that process for you? What did that mean to you to have your congregation be able to be there for you in that way?
Yeah, well, there's so much going through my mind about it. Obviously, as you pointed out, I want to be a pastor that's authentic, vulnerable. What you see is what you get. Everything's
Hmm.
not perfect in my life. I go
Hmm.
through seasons, just like everybody else, and I need Jesus through every season, every day, every hour. And so definitely wanting to invite people into that. And so therefore, if you're going to invite people into that, you got to invite people into, all of it. So if I'm sharing about my
Hmm.
dad and then he passes, people want, they want to be there to say they're sorry. And uh,
Yeah.
so I wanted to make myself available. Yeah, it was, it was a, gosh, I mean, it was such a, it happened so quickly. Um, so what people don't know, like, so the reason why I only got 2 hours of sleep on the 24th was because on the night of the 23rd, dad wakes us up in the middle of the night. We go in and he's like in the middle of the room, kind of on
Mm.
not necessarily on the floor. He was on something, but dad never got up. So we anytime he would get up, somebody's there to help him, all that. So he's in the middle of the room, and when we're trying to figure out, well, okay, why are you here? He's like, I had to go get oxygen. Well, we knew something was wrong,
Mm.
because yeah. So now it was like midnight, and so I'm like, it's not registering in my head. Like, what do you mean you had to go get oxygen? It don't make any sense. And so like, because because I'm a little delirious because I got awakened in the middle of the night, and then and I didn't fall asleep because I'm now listening to him, and then about an
Mm.
hour or so later, I hear it again, so I go in there. And I just sit with him the rest of the night, just watching him to make sure he's okay, he's not getting up. So that was the reason why the 2 hour. And then I also knew that something's wrong because he's never done that before. And so the 24th happens, very similar, he's just like, yeah, it's almost like a witching hour when the sun
Mm.
goes down, and that is a thing medically.
Mm.
And so it doesn't have a really good night, and then he sleeps pretty much most of the day on the 25th. And then he gets up. Now this is where, I mean, just a God moment. I mean, my dad, I do. He knew his hours, were numbered because he started making phone calls. And he had
Wow.
started making phone calls a couple of days earlier, but he started making phone calls then to his closest siblings, his best friends, and then even with our kids in there, he had given them their Christmas card, and he's like, before I put my money in there to give you, you write me a card. And so on Christmas Day, the kids all came in there and they read to my dad the card that they wrote him, and then he gave them their Christmas present, and words of wisdom. And we recorded all of this on our phones because again we didn't know what we didn't know. But basically, he was saying his goodbyes, and then my brother he leaves from Augusta, comes down and gets to the house around
Mm.
8 p.m. on Christmas Day, and he and Dad, exchange, kind of, words with one another, and then my dad looks at me and Joni. He's like, "Okay, I'm ready. What do I need to do?" So, I chuckle at it because I mean he was ready at that point. He had
Yeah.
said everything he needed to say. He felt like his family was all taken care of. He had his boys there with him, and now he's ready. And that was really hard. So that was around,
Mm.
8:30, and then he passed about 9 o'clock or about 10 o'clock on the 26th.
Mm.
And so it was. It's just yeah, it's surreal, but that's what it was. And then yeah, so to be able to have your church family just express.
Mm.
And I wanted that to happen before I got back, and getting ready to preach. And I'm sure people will, obviously will
Sure.
do that even this week. And I'm grateful for all of the cards. I've read every card. So I'm very grateful for the
Mm.
support, the love, the prayers. I hate that the celebration of life was not able to be recorded. That's part of a rural church, man. They just didn't. I mean, now if we did it in their auditorium, they would have had at least the ability to record it, but
Mm.
not stream it live. So this is part of where
Mm.
don't take for granted what we are able to do at Northland.
Right.
Now we did have somebody who recorded it on their phone.
Oh, great.
So I will get that at some point.
Awesome.
But it was good. It was sweet.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you've done hundreds of memorials and celebrations of life, and you said that this one was obviously different,
Yeah,
but man, you honored him well, and you were both the son and pastoral, and bold in your approach, and yeah, I'm just so appreciate it.
yeah, yeah. It was different. Obviously, we'll never do another funeral like that, and until I do my mom's. But Lord willing,
Right?
I'll have a long time before that happens. So.
Mm.
God's taught me a really deep, kind of truth through this experience is that, man, it just sucks losing a parent, regardless of how old or young you are. But I will say this, and I said it at the memorial, is that your impact is measured by your investment. If you're a parent out there, and in some sense you want your kids to actually miss you, and you don't do it just for your kids to miss you, but how are you investing in them? I'm telling you, the reason why my heart has literally, I mean, it has a huge crevice, in it is because of the investment my dad has made in me
Mm. Yeah.
over decades, and then even over the last several years of just how he pursued and called and texted. And man, those are the hard moments right now. Oh my gosh, they're so hard because I would call and text him often, like going to the office, coming from the office, walking my dog. Like, I mean, flying to Pensacola, grabbing him and driving,
Yeah.
like I'm telling you, because he wanted to be here and he couldn't drive. And so, I mean, yeah, I don't have that anymore. And that's hard. I mean, that's really, really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing all of that. And in the middle of all that, you had Christmas Eve and everything with your dad, and you had been training for a
Yeah.
dopey challenge.
Yeah.
So this was several months in the making.
Well, I
Um,
mean, I started training back in April of last year.
yeah.
Yeah.
And as a reminder, this is Thursday through Sunday, 5K, 10K, half marathon, then marathon.
Yeah.
And So how was that process?
Yeah, here's a this is good lessons as well. So I never I never had the thought that I wouldn't be able to make it or finish it. Even though like my training got interrupted, kind of halfway through November, and then you have to realize too, we were gone to El Salvador for that week, and so I didn't even get to run that week.
Right. Hmm.
So I mean, my training had been interrupted significantly. I was still able to get in a run or two here or there, but it was again interrupted significantly. So I never thought that I wouldn't be able to do all 4 days. I was just well, it would probably be slower. Uh, but here's a significant lesson is that I had already done all of my base and foundational training before November. You see, November and December
Mm.
were just basically the ending to really how fast I would be able to go. So I had already built the foundation, and it's something that I didn't necessarily realize until I started to
Mm.
plug things into Chat GPT. Hey, this is what I'm doing at 15 because I was up to running 15 miles in a given time, and running it at 10-minute miles. So I had already built up that in some sense up that base, and so
Yeah.
and I'd known enough about endurance where it's just watching your heart rate and making sure you're fueling. But I go into the race going, all right, well, all right, I still need to, got to have a game plan because, if you go out and you run as fast as you can on day one, day two, and then your half marathon, listen, you ain't gonna have anything left in the tank for your marathon. And so the whole game plan is you preserve your legs, but I had the challenge where I would not walk any race. So I wouldn't
Oh,
walk
okay.
any race. So therefore, I had to walk, kind of again, watch your heart rate. And so that's what I did. So 5K stayed around about a 15-minute mile. 10K comes around about, 15-minute mile. And that is more around keeping your heart rate at about 120 to 130.
Hmm.
So for me, like that's a zone two. That's all. I mean, like I'm talking like all day, all day. Like I could preach in a zone two. I probably do preach at a zone two. So
Yeah.
then the half comes, and this is where, hey, I'm going to be out there at least 2.5, 3 hours, but I got to keep my heart rate really under 140 because I got to save everything for the next day. Another thing that I didn't necessarily think about is waking up at 2:30, 3 a.m. every single morning.
Yeah.
That was something I didn't necessarily think about, but you got to factor that in because now you are interrupting your circadian rhythm, not just one day, because that was something that I was
Mm.
really. I was really fascinated with after I finished everything because why am I feeling this way? Well, one of the things that I'd learned was, well, in an Ironman, you just get up early one day and you're not
Right.
interrupting your really sleep schedule other than that one day. This is really so Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night.
Yeah.
So you got 4 nights that you are getting up at this point, and so then you're going to bed at 7 p.m. So that's changing. That's changing a lot. Just from just a routine, but from even a physiological standpoint. So,
Yeah.
anyways, so then the marathon hits, and this is what I typed it into Chat GPT. I said, I'm pulling it up. So I
Okay.
said I had a bedtime from 6 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. I got a sleep score of 70. I feel rested. My body is sore, and my butt feels tight. Last minute coaching tips from you.
Was this going into the marathon?
This is going into the marathon. This is
The last day.
marathon morning. Okay.
Okay.
So, and then, so it says you did exactly what you needed. Hey, sleep score is
So
70
encouraging.
is great. Your early bedtime. And then here's the first thing it said. Here's my coach. Here's the first coaching tip. Reframe how you feel. You are sore, but you're not injured. You are tight, but you're not broken. You're heavy, but you're not weak. That's literally what ChatGPT told me. You have accumulated mileage, you have normal inflammation, and your muscles are asking for warmth and rhythm. Your body is ready, it just hasn't warmed up yet. So then
Wow.
it gives me a 10-minute pre-race, routine. And then here's what it said in the first 3 miles. This is so cool. So it said the first 3 miles is the most important part of the day. The first three. Now remember, it's 26.2 miles, but the first three are the most important of the day. And here's what it says: your only job. Run like you are protecting your future self. Run like you are protecting your future self. So you're going to keep it
Wow.
slow. You're going to let your heart rate rise slowly. You're going to have a really good, quick, and light cadence, which your stride is going to be short. And if your brain says, man, this feels stiff, you respond correct. This is just mile one. This is what it's telling me. And
Wow.
then it's giving me fueling reminders. Now remember, fuel, keep it boring. First calories by the first 30 to 35 minutes. Sip often,
Mm,
don't wait for hunger, don't skip early because you feel okay. So because you're going to have to start fueling your body because your body's going to have to store it for later on.
mm,
So I did all that, and by mile five, I'm like, man, I actually feel good. I mean, I like feel good. And then what you do is you get into this rhythm where your body just takes over. And this is what all of the foundational stuff that I had
mm.
did April, May, June, July, August, September,
Yeah.
October, running through the hot months. Like now, all of that is actually showing itself.
Mm.
Like I have put in, and so when you look at my splits, and that's why I posted it online. Like when you look at my splits, like I kept getting faster. So
Mm.
when you look at the dopey, it's 48 point, I don't know, I forget what it was, but almost 49 miles. But the last, I mean, 5 miles, man, I'm running at a 15 minute pace. You, you
Wow.
know, so
Wow.
so that's where I yeah,
Man,
it
that's
was,
amazing.
yeah.
In everything you just said, I mean, you could see the leadership lessons for life and in ministry in that. Man, running away to preserve your future self. And I love how you said that after 5 miles, your body just took over, but it was because of the base and the foundation that you had done. So I actually think that leads us well into the last topic I wanted to talk about, which was breakthrough, because we are starting a new series this weekend. I'd love for you to just talk about why it's important every year. So you've started us on this rhythm and cadence of preaching, and we always start with the vision series every year. This one is breakthrough. So tell us a little bit about it and how you want us to use this series to lay a solid foundation for this upcoming year, and then obviously where we're going in the future.
So the biggest thing about breakthrough, and I don't want to give too much away because I actually have a pretty lengthy introduction.
Okay, okay.
Because I'm setting it all up. And one of the things that I like to set up, I mean, again, this is a series for the church. Now, although I will be applying it to our personal lives as well, because there are so many
Mm,
times in our life where we're going to need a breakthrough because we feel stuck, we feel on a merry-go-round, maybe something happened to us, maybe it was because we did it. But that's why I also did that video at mile 20, and I'll remind people even in the introduction what mile 20 is. It's the wall. People hit a wall because and I won't give this away because you have to be there, but there are three major reasons why people hit a wall at mile 20, and it's
mm,
all on them. And so you're going to need, so there's going to be times in your life where you need a breakthrough because of what you did to yourself. And then there are going to be
mm,
times where you need a breakthrough just because of what's happened. Maybe
mm,
something someone did to you, or just because of the natural ebb and flow of life. You're going to need a breakthrough because you feel stuck, you feel tired, you feel like nothing is happening, nothing's moving in the right direction, nothing good's going, so you need a break through. I am going to
mm.
also talk about one of the most, let's see, well-known movies and probably one of the greatest movies of all time, probably in the top 10 of people's list, The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah.
So, because there
Okay.
was a breakthrough that Andy had,
Hmm.
but anyways, like, so I will apply it to our life, but I like applying it because it's a vision series to the church.
Yeah.
And so I actually give a recap of all of the vision series every year that I've done so far because we're going somewhere. And because this is year four
Hmm.
of a vision series, so 2023, 2024, 2025, now 2026, this is year four. We are desperately needing a breakthrough, and I'm going to explain why.
Hmm.
In the series. But I'm using the Jews in exile because it takes them 140 to 150 years to actually experience complete holistic renewal.
Hmm.
And so could you I mean, like, so could you imagine sitting for 140 years, 140, I mean, multiple generations,
Hmm.
and you finally, and sure, did they have, in some sense, some good things that had happened along the way? I mean, they did, um, but things that still had left them, had not really freed them to be the people of God that they wanted or that they were called to be. And so it took
Hmm.
140 years to actually experience full on out renewal, restoration, and breakthrough. So this is
Hmm.
part of where I think, like, for Northland, I've actually had people say in the past, but I don't give a flying flip. What here's what they would say, because I'm going to tell the story of Northland. Well, you just go back and you talk about the bad. And I don't talk about the bad. I just talk about the reality. The reality is that Northland was at
Hmm.
10,000 in 2010,
Hmm.
averaging 10,000 at our location. When I got there, it was down to 650. Now, but even before COVID, it was down to about 2,300. So Northland from 2010, 2017, around 2,700, 20, kind of 19, 2,300. When I got there,
Hmm.
650. I mean, that is a significant decline. Okay. And so now God is leading the comeback. It's not me who's leading the comeback. I'm just the conduit by which God is working. And
Hmm.
so after 4 years of where you had hit the bottom, like, there's a lot of energy. I'm going to talk about a rocket and how much fuel a rocket uses
Yeah. Yeah.
just to break
Yeah.
gravity. I mean, so
Yeah.
just to break gravity. Gravity is taking us down. Just to break gravity and start trying to actually see, even any kind of growth. I mean, think about how much energy, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual energy has to be
Yep.
exerted just to break the
Yep.
negative declining momentum. I mean, like, okay, so
We
but
felt
now
it.
4 years into it, where sometimes, well, we're not just seeing what we want to see, or, man, this is really getting tough because maybe you're tired, maybe your fuel storage isn't where
Hmm.
it needs to be, and so you can get stuck where you are in
Yeah.
need of a breakthrough. So that's really the reason for this series, is to encourage the church. Don't give up. Keep moving, one foot in front of the other. One weekend at a time, like one day at a time. Like,
Yeah.
don't give up. Keep moving. You might feel like you hit a wall, but I'm telling you, God can break through that wall, and we're going to see what is needed in order to
Hmm.
experience a breakthrough.
Hmm.
Because there are three big buckets. There are three big elements that are needed in order to experience breakthrough. That's what we'll be talking about for 3 weeks. And then the fourth week, we will actually be looking at what are the characteristics. How do you know that you have broken through? How do you know that you've experienced breakthrough? And so there are actually some signs
Hmm.
that we see in the book of Nehemiah where breakthrough has happened.
So I love how you framed it as this is this will obviously be helpful for us individually, but this as a vision series is for the church. So is this message just for staff and townhold leaders? Is this for everybody?
Well, definitely for everybody. I mean, if you care about the church, I mean, sure. Now there are some people that not to impose on them what they're thinking, but they don't really necessarily care about Northland. And if they're just coming in, they may not know the history of Northland, which is part of the reason why. Listen, I wasn't here. I wasn't here at Northland in 2010 or 2008, or I
Sure.
wasn't here in 1973 when it got launched. But here's the thing. Northland's history is my history. And so I want to know
Mhm.
Northland's history. I want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to know the highs. I want to know the lows. I want to know the lessons, because I don't need to forget those. And that's part of why every year we have a vision series that
Yeah.
really is, contextual to our history, to our people, to where we are, and to where we are in the journey that God has for us, and really the renewed strategic vision that He has given us. And so we don't want to lose that context. And,
Yeah.
and so we want to make sure that every year that there's this contextualized vision and word for where we are and where we think the Lord is, leading us. So
And obviously that question was tongue in cheek, and I know that everybody listening to Extra Takes cares deeply
yeah.
about the kingdom of God and cares deeply about Northland. So I know that there is this ownership. So I know we don't have to tell you listeners that this ownership of this vision series is not just for the staff, not just for lay leaders, but is for all of us as a community. But it's also something that you can help us communicate that this is the direction we're heading. This is the direction that we had laid out. I love how you are going to remind us of the previous years, because how easily we can forget. But it's
And
also
then, I mean, and I do believe that there will be some longtime Northlanders. They might be convicted. I'll
okay.
I'll just leave it because of what. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And it's good to be convicted. Listen, I want to be convicted. If the shoe fits, I need to wear it. I don't need to get mad at somebody who brought it up to me. I
Sure.
need to own it. And
Yeah.
and this is part of where I hope and pray that we understand breakthrough, and particularly every single week we understand what those components are of breakthrough, and really, hopefully, Lord willing, embody them.
Awesome.
So,
Anything else that you want to touch on today that we didn't talk about?
nah, I mean, I think that's it.
Well, I'm looking forward to the series. Appreciate the way you've been leading during this time. I appreciate the your willingness to be gracious on yourself, spiritually, emotionally, physically. But we're excited for you to be re-entering, and we're ready for a new series, and it's going to be a great year.
Yeah, I have heard that people have been asking, when am I coming back? So, are you coming back? No, I am coming back.
You're coming back.
Coming back. So that's nice to be missed.
It is.
It's nice to be missed.
Yeah. 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 You don't want to be gone and no one even knows you're
Yeah,
gone.
they gone. Who's Josh?
I don't think that's the case.
So, no, it's good. It is good, man. Well, Northland family and friends, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Extra Takes. We look forward to worshiping King Jesus with you this weekend as we start our brand new vision series, Breakthrough. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Extra Takes. Be sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you won't miss a single episode.